Before we move on, before we go into our throwing, our turns, and the structure of building our techniques, one of the things I want to do is just discuss balance, okay? Because judo is all about balance. We're trying to stop our partner from throwing us by keeping good balance, by transferring our weight. So if we don't understand how our balancing works, it can be quite tricky. It's random. Do we know what's going to happen next? Well, we should do, because we should understand what our balance is doing at any point, okay? So what we're going to do is use this cross. Now, I've just put some tape on the floor. You could use belts, you could use anything, okay? But the most important thing is that you make a cross. Now, my partner is stood with both feet on the line, okay? And when we're thinking about our balancing, let's think about when you're stood, you're balancing. It doesn't matter, okay? If you're stood still, you're balancing. And generally what we'll do is we'll put our weight 50-50 on each side. Within our feet, think of two balancing points. We've got a balancing point at the front, where we go onto our toes, and a balancing point on our heels. So at all times we're balancing, we're nice and level. When we're stood, we try and evenly transfer that, okay? Now this line that goes through the middle of my partner's feet, that line signals where they're quite strong in their balance. So if you were to pull or push, that's where they're quite strong, okay? And that's what you've got to remember. Whenever you're stood, the line that joins your 2 feet together, like that always signals where you're strong. The line that goes directly through the middle of that line, this one, okay, that line is the line where you're weak. So if you were to push somebody forwards, they're going to step forwards. If you were to push them back, they'll step back. And generally as they're stepping, that's to stop them from falling over. So you could do that right now. You could go lean forwards, and naturally you'll put a foot out. If you're leaning back, naturally you'll put your foot back, okay? We don't really get that from side to side. When we're going side to side, there's not that need. We're quite strong on that one, okay? And this is important to understand when we start talking about our stance. Okay, our judo stance. This would refer as our square stance, okay? And this is the worst stance for our judo, okay? Because if you think about most of our techniques, our forward techniques, our backwards techniques. If my partner stands like this, they're in exactly the correct stance for me to throw them. So if I was to break my partner's balance and throw him forwards, that would be really good for me. If I was to try and throw him backwards, same thing. So if my partner was to go, if you go into right stance, put your foot onto the line for me, yeah, and the back foot on the line as well. So even if we go 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, the rules still apply. If we draw a line through the middle of his feet, okay, which is this one, that's his line where he's strong. So if you're pushing, you're pulling, they're quite strong in that point. But now, if we look at the line that goes through this way, now that's where they're weak. Now that's where they're going to have to adjust. Okay, so wherever our feet are, we draw a line. That line is the line where we're strong. The line that goes completely through the middle, this way, that's where our balance is weak. Okay, and as we build through the course, that's going to make a lot more sense when we start talking about our stance, our gripping, and our posture. Okay, but it's really important. Have a play around with that. Have a play around with your balance, where you feel off balance, here, where you feel off balance. Because now once you know that, you know where you're aiming to get your partner. You know when you're trying to do a forward throw, where you're trying to break their balance. Okay, so let's play around with your balance, side, forwards, back. Change your stance. You can go in any stance, and then start to find the lines where you feel unbalanced.